Welcome to Elf Center. Now, I know right now you're looking and saying, Elf, by Tinkerbell's Tiny Twerking, what are you dressed as? Where's the dapper, the... Back in October of 2012, I spent a month touring with several bands in a variety of roles, and this was my uniform. You know, a different t-shirt every night, but other than that, I'm pretty much what you see. I've been asked to do a video on the tour and what my thoughts are. And I kind of wrote everything out, and it's going to be a 9-part mini-series. So this will keep me going for a few weeks. Hopefully you'll keep tuning in as well. It was interesting, it was involved, it was incredible. I've been a DJ for a long time now. I've promoted bands in, I've done big events and conventions and festivals. I have toured, but only a couple of times. Previous to the October 2012 Theory of Revolution tour, I went out east as an experiment for our company, Darker Side of Light, with a couple of Toronto bands to kind of tour the area and see how one includes a DJ as part of the tour. It's not easy. It makes sense, but it's difficult to make it work, especially for the DJ to make any money. So, previous to the October, during the summer, I got talking to a DJ promoter from the West Coast named Nikki Nicosia. We'll get to her. Who pointed me at a gentleman who had a band in Toronto, a new band. He had produced and put out an album, and there was a remix album, but he was planning a tour. And he was looking for a keyboardist. Well, I hunted around, but couldn't find a keyboardist who would work and could tour. So, in talking with Jonathan, he said, what about you? And I was like, wait, what? And apparently these days playing a keyboard, even though I've got a year of piano under my belt and I've dabbled in keyboards, this isn't like playing a keyboard necessarily. It's like triggering cues on a computer. So we chatted for a bit. I asked for a couple of days to think about it. I thought about it. And I thought, why not? It sounds like an amazing experience. It would be 21 dates in 26 days all across the United States. A couple of other bands, seeing places I'd never been, meeting people I'd never met. It sounded fantastic. And so we rehearsed. Rehearsal was a lot of fun. Jonathan and Christian are both amazing guys. They really are. They're fantastic. Both talented, both funny, both smart. I don't always agree with how they view the world, but you know what? I fully support how they view the world because they're just great people. And over this tour, you'll find that for the most part, I was very lucky. I met great people. So, at the start of October, 1st, 2nd, okay, 26 days, we ended on the 1st or 2nd of November, so we're on the 4th or 5th. We got together to get everything and bundle it all up, and Jonathan has an advantage in that he has dual citizenship, American and Canadian. So he handled the equipment, took everything across the border, as he is permitted to do. Besides, they tend to charge bands for crossing the border on the expectation that the bands are going to make money. We already knew there was no making money on this. And as I talked to Nikki about how the tour is set up and everything, in DSOL, Troy handles the bands. I handle other stuff. But even I know enough to know that there were some major challenges and issues going on here. I put the two of them together at one point to chat, and the response, the feedback I got from Troy was that I should just shut the drapes and lock the door and pretend no one's home when it comes time to go. But I thought, you know what? No. It's an experience. Good, bad, indifferent. It's an experience. It's an adventure. I'm going. So, Christian and I crossed the border together, and that was entertaining. It was... we were stopped, we were questioned, things went round and round in circles for a bit. It was a lengthy process getting from Toronto at that time to Detroit alone. Construction and all sorts of other stuff made the trip slow. We were going to Indiana, where we were going to pick up the tour bus. Jonathan had rented this huge beast that I'll tell you about in a minute. So we did get across the border and we started heading for Indiana. Now, I've traveled to Indianapolis many times in the past. I kind of know the way. They've got a GPS. Everything's good to go. Well, not so much. we get down to the general area, and the only way to access this small town where the company is that rents tour buses is a single bridge that is out. Otherwise, you have to go way up and around and approach it from this weird angle over here. And we kind of drove around a while being men, not referring to maps and trying to, hey, GPS says, and oh, there's the bridge again. We finally asked for directions and found the place. It was interesting getting there. We were chased by dogs and we went through parts of the country I was sure did not exist in Indiana. But we got there. And that was when we met the bus. 12 foot 10 inches so that it would fit where we needed it to fit. 25,000 pounds, because in the United States you can drive a vehicle of any size, including one with air brakes and all the fancy stuff this had, on a G license up to the 12.5 ton mark. Go over that, you got to get a special license. Probably 40 some foot long, and then a trailer to boot. A trailer which, to be honest, we didn't use a large portion of, but I was very glad that we had it. It had a shower. It had a media center with DVD player and satellite TV. It had, what, 8 bunks and then place for another 3 or 4 to sleep. A little kind of sitting area with a table where you could work. It was well set up. It really was. It was quite an amazing thing. It was this big black beauty. I've got pictures on my Facebook page. Somewhere in an album. I named her Matilda after a while because she was big and she had a fat ass, but boy could she waltz when she got going. Now, I grew up in the country. I've driven a lot of things. I will drive most things. And I got what amounted to 15 minutes of this is how stuff works. Don't press that button, but etc., etc. Here's how the air brakes work. Here's how the cruise control works. Here's your top speed. Here's how you're... Excellent. I'm going to be the first driver. There is discussion that other members of other bands will also be drivers, but Jonathan and Christian, no way. They were not handling this. So I started her up. Huge tanks. Ready to go. We talked about various things. We got all of our stuff loaded in. You know, everything that we needed to do. I parked my little beast there where it would sit for the next month. And you know, the other advantage to being a driver was that the driver's cab was completely separate from the rest of the area. So they could get as drunk as rowdy as they wanted and throw things around and do stuff. It would not impact negatively on the driver. It would not distract me. I'm good with that. And it had its own little driver's sleeping compartment, which was pretty cool. I filled that up because I was carrying, you know, a bag of clothing, hoping to do a laundry, but free CDs for people and music to listen to and my camera and all sorts of stuff. And we were on the road. So let's go to the airport where we were picking up Nikki and the Gossicles. Nikki is the tour manager. She has set everything up. I was a little concerned to start with because the only real promotion she seemed to do was Facebook. And even at that time, 2 years ago, Facebook did not share a lot of stuff. It was better than it is now. But I'm old school. You do a lot more than just doing the Facebook thing. You get in there and you meet people and you shake hands and you pass off posters and the tour manager should be traveling a day ahead, in my opinion. Or somebody the tour manager hires should be traveling a day ahead to set everything up and make sure everything's good. So you're not getting there and going, what? Well, Jonathan and Christian hopped in the back, and I think Christian hopped in the front. He might have. My memory has some holes in it. I'm not going to try very hard not to add things in, but I may forget stuff from time to time. So I am open to correction from any of you guys that were on it. And we had been awake for 26, 28, 30 hours at that point, had eaten once outside of Detroit a long time ago. So it was, let's pick them up, get to where we need to go, and then food and do stuff, and oh yeah, we need to hustle because we're so late. The first thing I hear from Nikki is, oh, how she had to spend overnight in the airport because someone didn't come pick her up. The airport where you could sleep because you weren't driving and where you could eat. I'm really sorry. First time I met the Gossicles. I'd heard about the Gossicles, I'd heard the music. I'd always considered them a bit of a joke. After this tour, I got the joke. These are awesome guys. If you ever get the chance to go see the Gossicles, do so. They're amazing. So we head off, and we're going towards where we need to go. Now we stop in a Walmart parking lot. I forget what day of the week this is or what time of the day it was, but the Walmart parking lot was pretty empty because I'm going to teach one of the gossicles who said he's willing to learn to drive how to drive the beast. Because you got to swing wide, and you got to watch corners, and anyone who's driven a truck knows this kind of stuff. It's been a long time since I drove anything big. So he's okay going around the parking lot of the Walmart a couple of times after I run him through all the instruction I got. I pay attention to stuff like this because it's not just my life on the line, it's everybody else's as well. So I take it very seriously. So I made notes and made sure he got everything I got. And then I said, let's go around the building. So we go around the building. And as we come around the last corner, you know those yellow posts full of cement wrapped in metal? Bang, pop, hiss. Took out the back corner of the trailer with the tire as well. Now, fortunately, the trailer had 2 tires on each side, because getting the spare would take us a couple of days, as it turned out. So at that point I said, look, get in the back. I'm not comfortable driving. You're great guys, and thank you for trying, and I applaud, but I'm the pickiest, most OCD of the bunch, and that's saying something if you've met some of them. And I wasn't comfortable. So I talked to Jonathan, who was the kind of the tour organizer and the main voice and the money, and said, here's the deal. I will drive until we can get us a driver. I want everything paid for because I'm saving you a ton of money. I'm not charging 20, 30 bucks an hour. And I will push as safely and as much as I can, and I'm going to be the only driver. I also get the cab up front to sleep in. And he went, okay, sure. And he and Christian started looking around for a driver. Well, we went off to Columbus, Ohio, where I got to meet, finally, after many years of admiring this woman, Christy Vernick, who is a fantastic lady, runs a label in a band, has the club night and everything. Driving into where we were going, some of the streets are rather narrow. And we had accident number 2, which scraped up the outside of Matilda. And I'm really sorry. But we started taking stuff in. We then met the Gossicles. Great bunch of guys. From Atlanta, Georgia. They really typify Southern hospitality. They're smart, funny. They were fantastic and talented. Wow, their show blew me out of the water. We were pointed to this interesting little parking lot kind of down and across the street where the inn curved and had cement curbs to direct the traffic. Curbed you in, and we kind of went in and around one side, and there were lamp posts and then other cars parked. So I kind of got her in there and looked at it and went, oh, getting out of here is going to be a real pain, because then you had to come kind of around and then straight out. And people were parking on the street out front. So, remember where the vehicle is. This is important later. There were a few issues. Set up, we were all nervous as all get out. First show ever in public. I started having issues with Nikki. All the lights were left on in the trailer, and she'd come out to look for somebody, and then we all had keys. Our stuff is in that trailer. She'd come out and let the door swing shut and keep going, and I'd go, ow! I'd see this from outside. No one's in the trailer. She was leaving it open. Not a great idea. She was also discussing, well, we're going to have more people in sleeping places, so we need to rotate the sleeping places. I'm thinking, let the band sort it out. Let them do as they need to. You do not tell the bands how to arrange their sleeping places. And her clothing kind of exploded all over the place. She was not the kind of person, again, I should have listened to Troy, I think. But we'll get to that. I'm trying very hard not to say incredibly bad things about her that is not the honest truth of what had happened and where she and I started locking horns and not getting along. I also tend to have a dominant personality, so when we'd get out and she'd tell everyone we have 10 minutes and they'd all wander off and I'd shout we have 10 minutes, she'd get upset because they'd listen to me and not her. Step it up or step it away. So anyways, Columbus, Ohio was really, really good. We found out Deviant UK was supposed to be there. We're stuck in Chicago. But we met Dissector. We got, everything was cool. Did the show. got out, and then it was time to try to get the vehicle out of the parking lot. Waited a while so that the other cars that were in the parking lot, some of who belonged to people who were in the club, left, giving us more room. Well, I grabbed two of the guys from Dissector who I had been told had some experience with trucks. Love you guys, but pickup trucks are not the kind of beast that we're talking about. They didn't stand in the mirror so I could see them when they were giving me the directions to back up and such. There were some challenges that we worked through. And slowly more and more of the bands came out and we loaded the equipment. And so we've got, let's see, Dissector was 5, the Gossicles was 2, For All the Emptiness was 2 plus me, plus me. We got 10, and a couple of bystanders standing around while I'm trying to get this truck out of here. We got it a couple on the curb in the entry. There are posts, and we almost got hung up on the post a couple of times. Got it backed off. We almost got it in the street, but the cars parked across the street turned the entrance of the street into this narrow, tight little space that at the angle I was coming at, if those cars were not there, it would have been golden. Those cars were there. I was missing about 6 inches. Average size, boys and girls. So we backed and forth and tried, and we must have been there a good hour, hour and a half, until I finally figured it out. I had gotten angry. And an angry elf is an elf who thinks. So I took a pen and paper, and I handed it to the guys outside, because throughout all of this, they're constantly going, oh, back up, do this, try this. I am getting maximum amount of feedback and advice. And I thanked them for it, but it became a point where we were running by committee and this would not work. So I gave them a pen and paper and said, listen, I want you to sketch this out and figure out the angle I'm going out at. And I'd like you to, you know what, there's light under that lamp post over there, about 20 feet away. I'd recommend going standing under there so you can see what's going on. And of course, they all clustered over there. As soon as they did, windows up, air conditioning on, cigarette lit, doors locked, and in 10 minutes I had her out on the street, purring and ready to go. And they asked, how did you do it? And I said, I have no clue. It needed to be done. I'm tired. Get in the bus. And off we went. We drove for a while. The Deviant UK, if I remember right, had a car that they rented. They went off someplace else. And we camped, or they might have followed us. We camped out in a Walmart parking lot, like we would do a lot, and slept and got up the next day. So now we have to drop Deviant UK at the airport because that's where they rented the car. Well, weren't this going to be fun? An airport I've never been to before, so I'm not sure about all the tolerances and allowances. I'm driving in, I see the height of they've already gone ahead, they're dropping off their car. We're getting there, and I see the height restriction on the pickup area, and it's about 11.5 foot, and I'm at 12 foot 10. We are in a narrow space between walls, on a curve, slam on the brakes. We got to back out of here. I have not backed a trailer in years. It's something that is incredibly tricky, especially the bigger the trailer, and it's something that I relearned pretty quick, poorly. We had to have people out back to wave people around and let traffic go through. Security showed up, cops showed up so they could tell us how to get through, pass and everything. A ticket was written, which I do deserve, or did deserve. I'm hoping the ticket was taken care of. Jonathan said he would. I don't want to be arrested in Ohio if the cops ever pull me over. I've got this bad feeling the ticket's never been taken care of. I will at some point chase it up and find out. But we picked them up and we were off to Detroit, Michigan, and City Club, where we met Deviant UK. Again, fantastic bunch of people. Parked right across from City Club. We're very well taken care of. First time I met certain people that I have seen since at Steamtopia. I'm remembering this now. A certain young security lady who I met there before I met her at Steamtopia. Of course, I looked a little different. I was a little more mohawked up and dressed like this instead of the steampunk. We were on the bill with a mess of other bands. There was some other stuff going on, as there always will be at City Club. The promoter, once again, much like Nikki, advertised on Facebook. That was it. I mean, I poked friends, many of whom could not or did not come because this was not to their flavor. But, I did more in half a day than they did in the entire time that they had with the warning and everything. throughout this, the marketing, the promotion was extremely disappointing. From end to end, start to finish, with some exceptions. The show went over well, till we left the next day and found out several items belonging to Dissector, including some very personal, close to the heart items of one of the members, had been stolen because the equipment where we were told to put it, where it was safe, had not been watched as closely as it should have been, or it was stolen by members of one of the other bands. Very disappointing. I'm still going to go to City Club. I still like these guys, but yeah, not the best experience I've ever had. So, thus ends Chapter 1, the setup and on the road. Stay tuned for Chapter 2. It'll be coming at you shortly. Thank you for watching and tolerating Elf Centered for this wonderful trip down memory lane.